Good morning, my dear students. Welcome back to your offline class. In previous class, I have discussed some question answer from your exercise chapter 12, that is reproduction in plants. There I have discussed only two questions, fill in the blanks, and another question. What are the different type of asexual reproduction? And today I am going to discuss from the question number 3 that explain what do you understand by sexual reproduction. Actually, what is sexual reproduction? That is written in board. You can see the mode of reproduction where the male and female gamete involve, and the involvement of these male and female gamete, they result as fusion, and fusion of gamete that forms a structure called zygote, and that zygote actually develops into a new organisms. Okay, that zygote develops into a new organisms. So this type of reproduction is known as sexual reproduction. The sexual reproduction can be found in multicellular organisms like human beings, dogs, cats. Okay, so the organisms which are multicellular, they possess such sexual reproduction, or their mode of reproduction is mainly sexual reproduction. Okay, I hope you understood this. Now comes to another question. Okay, next question is, state the main difference between asexual and sexual reproduction. So I am writing the answer after rubbing this. I am rubbing this question. For answer, here you can make a box. Asexual reproduction and in this side sexual reproduction. Okay, now we have to differentiate the both type of reproduction in some ways. Okay, first point I want to write, that is, here single parent is involved. Single parent is involved. This is the first point. And in case of sexual reproduction, two parents are involved. Two parents are involved, mainly male and female. Understood this point? Second point you can write, that is, no gamete formation takes place. No gamete formation takes place. Formation takes place. Okay, here gametes are formed. You know, without gametes the sexual reproduction is impossible. So gametes are formed. Which are those gametes? With male gamete and female gamete. Okay, next you can write, as there is no gamete formation, so no zygote formation also. Okay, no zygote formation also. You can write this point. And in another contrary, in case of sexual reproduction, you can write that male and female gamete fused to form zygote. Okay, so this is the basic difference up to these 3 points. Now last point is there, that I must write, that is new organisms is similar to the parent organism. Okay, new organism similar to parents. Okay, new organisms similar to parents, and in this case new organisms are different. Okay, so you can write this point that new organisms are different. Okay, new organisms are different from parents. So here we have just conclude the 4 differences between asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Single parent is involved in case of asexual reproduction, but in case of sexual reproduction 2 parents are involved actually. Okay, now no gamete formation takes place. Okay, in case of asexual reproduction no gamete formation takes place, but sexual reproduction gamete formation is very necessary. Now comes to, as there is no gamete formation in asexual reproduction, so no zygote formation will be there, and as there is gamete formation takes place in case of sexual reproduction, so the male and female gamete they fuse to form a structure called zygote, or zygote formation takes place in this case of sexual reproduction. Now the next means of difference, that is new organism similar to parent, but here the new organisms is different from the parents. And another example you can write easily, another thing, that is the example of asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction takes place in some you have seen that where asexual reproduction takes place. Okay, you can see from your book also as fragmentation, budding, these all are comes under asexual reproduction, and asexual reproduction mainly takes place in case of unicellular organisms, and sexual reproduction that takes place in case of multicellular organisms. So these all are the differences that I have discussed about this topic. Okay, I hope you understood this point. You can copy this answer. Okay, now comes to next question, that is sketch the reproductive parts of a flower. I have already drawn it while taking your class, this topic. So this will be your homework. Now move forward to the 6th number question, that is explain the difference between self pollination and cross pollination. First you should copy this answer. Then I will rub this. Okay, now I am rubbing this. Question number 6. Okay, self pollination and in another portion cross pollination. Okay, now coming to the first point of difference, that is in first point you can write that pollen grains are transferred to the stigma of the same flower. Okay, same flower, but here the point will be just opposite of it, that pollen grains are carried to the stigma of another flower. So pollen grains are carried to stigma are carried to stigma of another flower. Okay, another flower. Next point, it occurs in bisexual plant. In bisexual plant means the plants having both anther and stigma maturing at the same time. Plant having anther and stigma maturing at the same time. Maturing at the same time. Okay, so here we have found another difference, and in case of cross pollination you can write it also occurs bisexual as well as unisexual flower, but mainly in bisexual flowers having anther and stigma maturing at different time. So this is totally depend on the maturation of anther and stigma. Anther and stigma maturing at different time. Okay, this is the second difference, that pollen grains are transferred to the stigma of the same flower, that is in case of self pollination. In cross pollination, pollen grains are carried to the stigma of the another flower. Okay, now it occurs in bisexual plant having anther and stigma that maturing at the same time. So there must be a bisexual flower where the anther and stigma are present and they are maturing at the same time. But in case of cross pollination, what happens? Also, this also takes place in case of bisexual plants, but their anther and stigma that matures at different time, so that cross pollination occurs. Okay, so here I have mentioned these 2 points. Now I will drop the first point and writing the another point. Third number point, you can write it takes place in plants like wheat, then peas. These are example of self pollination. Okay, etc. Now 3 number difference of cross pollination with self pollination, it takes plants like example, some example like lady's finger, tomato, ladyfinger, tomato, etc. Okay, I hope you understood these all points. the main difference between self-pollination and cross-pollination. Then if you have any problem, you can ask me in the e-portal and during your online classes also. Okay, and today up to this portion. In the next class I will discuss the remaining portion of this exercise. I hope you understood. Thank you. Have a nice day.